Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Generations Select Legacy Titan Class Autobot Guardian Robot and his little buddy Lunar Tread. So this is a remold of the War for Cybertron Omega Supreme Titan Class. And yeah, this thing is really cool. Great opportunity for me to pick him up because I have still not been able to bring that Siege War for Cybertron Omega Supreme into my collection. So this is a great opportunity for me to add this guy. Now, normally this is where we would show the box. I do have the box, but as you can tell from the sheer size of this figure, this guy's 24 inches tall. He's a really big dude, taking up a lot of room in my light box. So what I'm going to do right over here in this area is I'm just going to inlay a couple of photos that I took. I've got a photo of the box in its entirety, I suppose. There's also a photo of the label for Guardian Robot and Lunar Tread, and then a photo showing the inside, once I took him out of the box, how this guy was packaged up. So after we take a brief look at those, we're going to go ahead and we'll get that turntable out of the way, and then we are going to take a look at everything that came inside the box with this ginormous dude. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came inside that box with the Guardian Robot, and we're going to start right over here with your little sheet of instructions, and then you have your instruction booklet, and then you're left with what we have here in the middle. So I'm happy to report he did come with blast effects. I love blast effects. The more the merrier, so that's great. But we're not going to spend a lot of time on these. I mean, if you've watched my reviews, these are no different than any other blast effect I've ever used in the past. So we're going to just go ahead and gather those up, and I'll give you the close-up. There you go. And then we're going to put those off to the side. Now we're going to focus on this little guy right here. This is Lunar Tread. This is his little buddy that he came with. So we're going to cover anything and everything regarding Lunar Tread now. That way we can just put him off to the side and focus on the big guy. All right, so let's start with his details, and you can see there that he's about a Legend scaled or the old Legion scaled. And yeah, I mean, his face looks pretty good. Got that nice blue paint for his eyes, silver paint for that face. And then right here in his chest, he does have a peg that pops up. So you can actually use that peg to plug him in anywhere a blast effect would go. So any port right there, and you can just plug him in. It's got pretty decent sculpt work for a figure this size, and I think it's a nice gloss that they have on him. And then coming on down to those legs, just have those gray upper thighs, and then the white right there. It's a nice brilliant white. I do like it. And coming over here to the side, you've got a couple wheels. Yes, they have mushroom pegs. They are what they are. And then coming up to those arms and turning him around to the back. So really not a bad little figure. I mean, he's hollow back here, but that's due to transformation, and he's hollow right up there, but I don't really care. Little bit of hollow up underneath there as well. But yeah, he's just a fun little dude. So let's go ahead and talk about his articulation while we have him right here. So you don't have anything at the head. At the arms, you get a little bit of wiggle. It's not going to be a lot. It wiggles the more you bring it up, but it's not going to be a great amount. And then you can bring those all the way around if you choose to do so. Nothing else at the arms, nothing at the waist. At the legs, you can get about that much of a spread. And then kicking forward about that far, kicking backward, you can get a little bit further. At the thigh, you've got a ball joint here, so just a little bit of thigh rotation, just enough to kind of give him that stance. And then down here at the knee, you can bring these all the way up because, hey, that's how he transforms. All right, and then nothing at the feet. So there you go. Now, again, just getting it all out of the way now, we're going to transform him, and we'll show you his alt mode, his lunar rover mode, if you will. So all you're going to do is you just get that out of your way for now a little bit. And then you're going to rotate these arms around. You do have little hollow areas right there that are going to match up with those larger tabs. And then you're just going to flip the arms up, and well, there you've got that part done. And then come over here, and you're going to fold these. And then you've got that part done. And then you've got his little satellite dish hanging out right there. And plug those in. And yeah, there you have Lunar Treading. So there he is. Not a bad little dude at all. As a matter of fact, I quite like him. As I stated, you also can plug him into, well, anywhere there's a blast effect port, but since he came with the blue Omega here, or the Guardian robot, you can take that peg and then line it up. It gets a little squirrely on you, it tries to, but you can just plug him in anywhere you want to plug him in. And of course, this figure here, Guardian Robot, has those ports all over, so you're not limited just to those shins right there. But yeah, so what we will do, again, keeping with the trend of just doing everything with this guy and then getting him out of the way, is we're going to go ahead and get into the comparisons, bot mode, alt mode, for this guy, and then we're done with him, and then we can focus on the big guy here. All right, so let's do that. For our first alt mode comparison, here we see Lunar Tread next to the Autobot Legion class roller. So this is the figure that came with the Autobot Arc playset from Transformers Dark of the Moon. And he works, he's a Legion class figure, and the Arc works with those other Legion class figures. So figured it was appropriate to bring him in because he's kind of a lunar rover, and he's kind of a lunar rover. And we only have one more alt mode comparison, just simply because you know, he's not the focus of the review. He's just an addendum to it. So next to Lunar Tread, this is the Transformers Legacy Cosmos. And now for those robot mode comparisons, we're going to start with the Legion class roller, the figure that came with that Autobot Arc playset from the Dark of the Moon movie. Next up is a fellow astronaut, so to speak. This is the Transformers Legacy Autobot Cosmos. And for our last bot mode comparison, since I consider Lunar Tread to be a bit of a minion or a sidekick, whatever you want to call him, I figured I would go ahead and bring in Frenzy. And in particular, this Frenzy is the figure that we got in conjunction with that Human Alliance 2-pack that came with Frenzy and Barricade a few years back. All right, that's the end of the road for Lunar Tread. We're not going to talk about him anymore. You may see him in various other parts of the review, but his segment is complete. So let's go ahead and move on to the big guy himself. Let's bring in Guardian Robot. And here he is, the bot we've all been waiting to see. This is Guardian Robot, aka Blue Omega Supreme. Now I'm going to be doing this a little bit differently. As you can see, there is a little bit of camera shake just due to this guy's sheer size. I'm going to change this up a little bit, and I'm going to try, instead of bringing the Guardian Robot into the camera, I'm going to bring the camera into Guardian Robot and do a little bit of a flyby here, and we'll talk about those details as we go along. And, you know, we're just going to come up here, we're going to take a look at that head, and as you can see, there's a pretty good amount of detail there. Lots of really nice sculpt work, and of course, he does have that cannon in the back, so, you know, I guess he's a hothead, is what you could call him there. But yeah, good details, and then you do have that that transparent plastic on the front where you can see the face through there. And I think the face looks pretty good. Nice blue eyes. And then, of course, he's got his angel wings right out there, which are his tracks. And then you can just see the incredible amount of detail and sculpt work everywhere on this figure. So if we bring the camera down just a little bit here, and we'll see him from the back first. As a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and bring this out so you can get that full view of him, and you can see just that side profile and see what he looks like from the back. I'm trying to minimize the camera shake, guys. This guy is just he's a whole different beast. So you can see, I really like that clear chest, what they've done there. The paint apps look really good on this guy. Making our way down just a little bit more. We're going to take a look at that midsection and the crotch and the butt. So there's the Omega butt. And yeah, he looks good from every angle. This is a really nicely sculpted figure. Really good looking Titan class figure that they've made here. So absolutely, completely appropriate that they should have made another mold out of this from the Omega Supreme. So making our way down to those legs. And then this will give us an opportunity to just rest that camera. And then I'll pan it back up here. Let's center that up a little bit. And I'll pan this camera back up so we can get a slightly better view of those legs. And you can see you've got a little bit of paint here, a little bit of paint on those shins, just enough to really set it off and break up all that blue, but not so much to be overwhelming. So yeah, this is an absolutely beautiful figure. And then you can see he just keeps on going up, which is just really cool. I mean, he's just a big guy. He's just a big guy. And you can see as he comes around, you know, he's got ports everywhere that you can use. Some of the cooler ones, he's actually got them on the tips right here on his claw, so you can put blast effects in there. Of course, the blast effect in the middle, blast effect on his rocket. And then anywhere you can put a blast effect, you can also put his little buddy, little lunar tread. You just pop that peg out and then stick him in everywhere you want. So yeah, this guy is ginormous. Now, we're going to talk about the articulation, but we're not really going to do much about it. Again, just due to this guy's sheer size. So let's do a quick edit. I'm going to see if I can figure out a nice way to show you guys the articulation on this figure. All right, so on to the next challenge. We are going to do our best here to try to capture the articulation on a 2-foot tall Titan class figure without making the overall camera work look too bad. So bear with me. Hopefully this comes out all right. So we're going to start with the head up here, and I'm going to turn the head to the side so you can see this. So you do have the ability actually to raise that head up a little bit. So you've got this joint under here that gives you a little bit more room. That's helpful in letting you tilt that head back and bring that head down. So it's not a huge range of motion, but you do get a little bit because of that. Now you don't get any head tilt, so that side to side quizzical tilt, you don't get any of that, but you do get the up and the down, which is helpful. And then of course you can go all the way around if you choose to do so. You also have this cannon here where you can bring that down, bring it up, do with it what you want. Now, before we get to the shoulders, one feature that I do want to show with the details flyby, I didn't get a chance to because I was kind of hands off with this guy, is you do have chest cannons on this guy. So if I can lift that up, hey, look at that. You got some chest cannons ready to go. So take that, fembots from Austin Powers. All right, so let's close this back up, and then we'll move on to the shoulders. Shoulders are pretty good. A lot of really heavy ratchets on this guy, so there's going to be a lot of clicking. It's really loud. Trying to find a good place to hold him. So at the shoulder, you can bring the shoulder out that far and then back in before he starts running into himself. You can go all the way around. Just be mindful of your angel wings there. And then you do have bicep rotation right here at this joint, so you can turn that all the way around if you want to. Elbows, he is extended as far out as he can right now, and then you can bring those elbows in that far on both sides. So pretty good range of motion there. And then, not entirely sure why you would want to, but you have the ability if you want to extend this or twist it around. It's totally your call. Now, the right arm is exactly the same except for this claw on the end, so let's go ahead and talk about the claw. So, there is the claw. So, this thing's really well articulated. So, you have joints right here and right here that you can use, and you can bring these in that far. So, if you want to get a nice look like that going, you're totally able to do so. Bring that out a little more. There we go. Symmetry. Oh, that's better. I like it. I like it much better. And then, of course, you have these joints right here, so you can bring these in quite a ways and have them all touching, and then you get some action like that. So good range of motion as far as the claw goes. All right, so let's move on to the waist. This is where it's going to start getting really challenging. I'm going to be showing the lower body, so there's going to be a lot of me lifting this guy up to try to show him to you. So at the waist, heavy ratchet, lots of clicking, but you can go all the way around with this guy. So good range of motion there, full 360 as far as that goes. And then, all right, getting down to the hips. This is these legs are good. It's just a bit of a challenge for me to try to get this on camera. So as far as the hips go, again, really heavy ratchets. So you can bring them out that far and then back that far. Man, it sounds like he's breaking. I swear it does. And then you have rotation right there at the thigh where you can go all the way around if you want to. Trying to find a good place to hold him. Forward kick. You're going to go that far with that forward kick. Rear kick. I knock these loose. But if you don't knock those loose, you're going to get about that far with the rear kick. All right. Making our way down to the knees. You're going to get that much range of motion in the knees. Hopefully I'm getting a good view there. It's really hard for me to see my screen right now. And bringing that back down. And then down here at the feet, you get ankle tilt. I mean, that's really it. You're not going to get any up or down. And you can tilt, there we go. You can tilt about that much. So let's try this. Yeah, let's try something for the first time on camera. That's a good idea. So yeah, you can get something like that going. He's almost ready to dance. I like it. You look good. All right, so that is it for the articulation. While I've got this camera view, we're just going to celebrate the blast effects real briefly and bring him in. You may be really shocked by what you see here. That was sarcasm. But he's got this guy right here. Look at that. You plug it in. It's like he's shooting something. But my favorite is, bring this up. There we go. All right. Now what you can do is you can take this. He's got a big boomer there. And I'm going to borrow from my already existing blast effects because they don't give you enough of these little guys. So I'm going to borrow another one of my little guys here. And then you're going to take this. And you're just going to plug that in. And then you're going to plug this in. And you're going to plug this in. And then you're going to steal this one. Plug that one in. And then he needs one over here, so go ahead and why don't you take that one. So then you can do something like that. So, ooh, I don't even have it all the way in the frame. There you go. So you can do something like that. Hey, all right, that's fun. And then he has the ports everywhere. You can, you know, use those blast ports, or you can use these little guys right here. You can hit blast effects right there as well. And then he's got them just everywhere. I think you get the gist of it here. I'm not going to spend too much time on all of that. This guy is fun. He's huge, but he's fun. All right. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to get him into his alt mode, into the rocket tank track mode. I'm not going to do the transformation in this review. Two reasons. Reason number one, his size. It's really big. It's going to be hard for me to capture it. Reason number two is it is an incredibly simple transformation. There's nothing to it. I mean, there's no reason for me to waste the time in the review showing this transformation. You move the guy's legs, you put him kind of sitting crisscross applesauce sort of style. You open up the tracks, you plug him into the ports on his legs. You're, for all intents and purposes, done. The rocket piece, this is all in one piece, which is really cool back here. So if you were to lift this up and take the angel wings off, I'm going to do basically the majority of the transformation right now. Take the angel wings off and then just give this a pull. Hey, look at that. Now you've got a rocket. Just going to straighten these out. Straighten these out. Lift this up, flip these around. Think you know where this is going. There you go, rocket. All right. So I'm not going to waste any more time with that transformation. The tank lives right here in this chest. You open this up and then you can lift these up and then you can take the tank out and then transform from there. So those are all your components. Now what we're going to do is just like magic, quick edit. Boom, he's going to be in his alt mode and we'll take a look at him from there. And through the magic of video editing, here we are taking a look at Guardian Robot in his alt mode, and you can see that he does indeed become a rocket with a station and a tank, just like Omega Supreme. And yeah, he's a big guy, so let's just pan up a little bit here, kind of doing some of that freehand work just to give you that overall view. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to give you this overall view, and then we're just going to focus on the three main components here, and that way we'll just set the camera down and get some static views of that and go over all the details, because there's a lot of stuff to cover here, but just wanted to give you that overall view. And one thing that I'm going to do in this mode right now before we go any further, I'm just going to do a real quick cut. I'm going to bring in a couple of other Titan class comparisons just in this alt mode, just so you can get a sense of size, and then we're going to focus on the details here. As promised, here we see the Guardian Robot in his alt mode next to a couple of other Titan class figures. I didn't see the point in really doing an alt mode comparison because these guys are all completely different. It's really not apples to apples. This was really more just to showcase the sheer size and the height of this rocket As you can see, it's taller than both of the Titan class figures, and it's actually taller than Guardian Robot / Omega Supreme when he's in his bot mode anyway. So this is an absolutely huge rocket. But for our comparison, just for some identification, back here you have the Transformers Legacy Metroplex, and then over here you have the War for Cybertron Kingdom, the Ark. So just to give you a sense of scale here as to what we're looking at. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get these two guys out of the way, and then we're going to focus on the primary components of Guardian Robot here, look at the details, look at all the cool stuff that you can do with this guy, and then we'll go from there. Now that we've taken a look at the overall view for the alt mode, now we can break it down into those separate components, and we're going to start with the base and the track. And first thing that I want to point out is it does not matter where you look at this guy from. There's just detail and sculpt work everywhere, which is really cool. Just really appreciate that. I mean, on the tracks, on the bottoms of the feet, which are now of course part of that base, just everywhere you look, there's something interesting to see there. So I very much do appreciate that. Now the base itself is, no pun intended, pretty basic, other than just an incredible amount of sculpt work. But I do want to show a couple things off here, which I think are really cool. So I'm going to bring this in. Apologies if there's any type of camera shake here, just dragging this across my light box. So right here, this is cool. From a play set, from an imaginative play standpoint, this is just like a big hangar, and that's exactly what it's intended to be. Normally your rocket would be right here, and then of course you would have a spot in here for you know, people or bots or whoever to be getting the rocket ready for launch or to be working on various things. So, you know, for an example, I'm just going to bring in like a little Bumblebee. I'm assuming this is going to be about the right size. So this is Bumblebee from the X-Transbots Jansen figure that came with him. Oh, come on, stand up, Bumblebee. You're on camera. Don't do that to me now. So, you know, you can see, and maybe it scales right, maybe it doesn't. I still like it. I still think it's really cool. And then, of course, if you want, you can bring Lunar Tread in. You know, he's coming in fast. Bam! Get out of the way, Bumblebee. You know, something like that. And then you can see from a scale standpoint that you've got the room right there. I do believe when I was showing the overall view that I may have had him mistransformed. I think I had this up. This is supposed to be down when he's in his base mode. So just something to note there. Also note that you do have ramps on either side, so you know, if Lunar Tread wants to have a little bit of fun, you can do that, and then he just rolls right underneath the tracks, and then you can do whatever you want with him. So very cool from that standpoint. Now another thing, I'm just going to slide this around a little bit, and then I'm going to do a quick camera adjustment so you can see what I'm talking about here. If you come down here on the legs, you have little cubbies. So these are normally the shins, the fronts of his legs, but if you open this up, you've got a little area right here where you can have Lunar Tread or whoever, bot mode, vehicle mode, doesn't matter, kind of come in here, and then he's going to sneak on in there, and then he's got a place where he can take shelter from the storm, I suppose, or go in there and work on stuff. I don't know. Whatever it is he's going to do, he's got room in there to do it. And we'll bring him on out. And then you have another one of these on the other side as well. So just really cool. So bring that camera back up a little bit. All right, and then we're going to swing around to the back here so you can see all the detail that's going on back there. Again, a tremendous amount. Raise it up just a little bit more. There we go. So yeah, you can see everywhere you look on this guy. Just really good detail. Really impressed by that. And then bring it around to the other side. And it's a whole lot of the exact same thing. As you might expect, this is just left leg, right leg kind of action. So yeah, I mean, I think the base, really nice. You do have, of course, blast effect ports on a few areas here. So I mean, being a base, he would come under attack. So you know, you can do something like that if you want to. Just all kinds of fun that you can have with this guy. Now, before we get him out of here, just to show a couple of other things, bring this back up. Now, of course, we're going to talk about the tank next, but we're going to bring it in right now just to show you. So you've got these rollers on the bottom of the tank, and as you may expect, you would just set the tank there in the track, and then he can go around. Now, it's not powered, it's just something that you're going to push on your own, but he does a pretty good job. I mean, you can just push him with the finger, and he follows the track pretty well. So, there you go. Looks really cool. I do very much enjoy it. Next thing we're going to talk about is, of course, your big old rocket that goes right here in the middle. And you just put that right there, and yeah, you are good to go. And if we put lunar tread right there, yeah, that looks good. And as we talked about, that rocket, it just keeps on going. He's a big guy. All right, so that is the base. So we're going to get everything out of here. We're going to talk about the tank next and get into those details. Moving on to the next component of the Guardian robot. This is the tank portion. This also makes up the chest area and the head when he's in his bot form. But we're here to focus on that tank, so let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to bring him in and start at the front. I'm going to, right off the bat, tell you that all of this is painted right here. And I do have some imperfections. I don't know if it's debris that got in with the paint or if they're just minor scratches. But I do have a few things on there. It's really not that bad, but just worth pointing out, I suppose. But yeah, great amount of sculpt work here. Looks really good. Coming around to the side. Really, really nice, detailed. I would love it if these tracks were real tracks, though, instead of having these rollers. But regardless, I think they look pretty good. Coming around to the back, and that's how he looks back there. And then coming over to this side, it's the exact same thing. And then coming up here to the top view, there you have that. So all kinds of good stuff going on there. And then in the bottom view, even there's stuff to look at. Like, you know, they didn't have to do this. It's kind of cool that they did, though. So, yeah, very cool. Now, one thing I'm just going to get out of the way that does mildly annoy me, very mildly, but it's worth noting, is the head connecting to the main cannon assembly. Man, I stumbled over that, didn't I? But it doesn't really connect, so, you know, you can move that head around and then it lodges loose, and, you know, it just, you know, gives you a gap. So there's really no solid hard connection. So you can see there's, you've got these, looks like maybe these interlocking ribs, but they don't really hold. It's just kind of alignment to help you as far as making sure you've got everything straight, but it doesn't really hold. It's just in the act of handling him, you know, you're going to move that head around and that kind of stuff. So it is what it is. It's no big deal. The cannon itself, talking about articulation, you can bring it up, you can bring it down. You can't really do anything else with it. I mean, you've got that head in the way, so there's not much else that you're going to do. These cannons, these are really cool. So you can bring these really far back, really before you start interfering with stuff, and then you start to jar that loose. But you can bring those up, you can bring them down. You have a little area right here where Lunar Tread himself can take a ride, I suppose. So while we've got that cannon up, I'm going to lift these up too, just to be safe, because you're going to actually use these panels right here. You're just going to give this a pull, and then you're going to open that up, and then you get yourself a nice little ramp area right there. So Lunar Tread, he has, you can see these areas right here, so you can kind of, I don't want to say lock him in, but you can line him up right there. And then you've got Lunar Tread in there, and then when you're ready, you know, he's ready for deployment, you got to get him over that hump, and then bring him on down, and then he's gone. Of course, it could be others too. It doesn't have to just be Lunar Tread. It could be anybody. So that's really up to you what you want to do there. But yeah, I mean, this is meant if I... Apparently I can't chew gum and walk at the same time today, guys. Oh no, he's falling apart. You get the gist. I'm not going to waste too much time. But yeah, it's a nice little spot where you can tuck him in right there. So I do think the tank looks nice. I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to hit anything when I close this up. There you go. So tank looks nice. It does have blast effect compatibility, as you may expect. So, you know, you can do this. You can do this. And you can do this. So, and as an added bonus, if you need that firepower in reverse, you can do that too. And I don't know, maybe no. So you're not going to do that. There you go. All right. So now that we've got the tank out of the way, now it's time for the rocket. Man, oh man, that's going to be fun. Now for the final component that makes up the alt mode of Guardian Robot, aka Blue Mega Supreme. This is the rocket. And I've done enough dramatic pans of this rocket. You get it. It's really tall. So right now I'm just going to focus on showing you the details because there's a lot going on here as well, most of which we saw in the bot mode. I mean, this is just his claw arm on one end and then the cannon arm on the other end. But just want to show you a couple close-ups here so you can see great amount of sculpt work in those fingers. If we look up underneath here, just all kinds of good stuff going on there. Of course, you do have a blast effect port. Blast effect ports on those tips right there as well. So when you have him in the rocket mode, of course. No, this seems mediocre for a rocket this size, but you get the idea. All right. And all the way around this guy, my goodness, just all kinds of detail. I mean, it's just everywhere you look, you know. It's really nice. If we, I guess if I hold it this way, it might work more effectively. So you've got good detail there, more blast effects coming up here. Good detail, more blast effects, and then coming over here to the tip. All kinds of great detail there. Now, I am going to bring in Lunar Tread and put Lunar Tread right there so you get a sense of that overall scale as far as he is compared to the robot. Now, you can also take Lunar Tread or any figure if you want. I guess, again, for a sense of scale, that might work too. Just teeny tiny Bumblebee right there. That might be good. So Bumblebee might actually, in this scale, might actually be human size considering he's a lunar rover. So, you know, maybe a slightly large human, but I think the scale kind of sort of almost works there. So let's go ahead and move him out of the way real quick because what I want to do is you do have a feature on the rocket itself. If I bring this down, let's see, what's going to be the easiest angle? That's a great question. I should have planned this out first. So you have this area right here. This is actually a port. So if you look closely, you can actually see that they've got like a little cockpit area right here, which is really cool attention to detail. And you can open this up. So if you just reach under there and open that, and then reach up there and open that, you have an area where you can put some figures. So very cool. It's kind of like a lunar capsule. So I do very much appreciate that. So you can take that. I'm just going to set this rocket down as such. Bring this down. And then you can take Lunar Tread. And of course you can lay him down in there if you want. So he's piloting it. You can stand him up when it's in the rocket, the vertical mode. So, oh no, he fell. So you get the idea. I'm not going to be able to show you on camera, but if the rocket were vertical, he would be able to stand up right there. And then, of course, you can seal him in. And, yeah, now he's off. I don't think that's airtight, so maybe humans shouldn't try to take this into space. Just a thought there. So, oh no, thank goodness for friction pins. And then you can open those up, and you can friction pin this piece back on. Easier if I close it back up, and then friction pin that piece back on. There we go. All right, so there you go. I think that's really cool. You do have a blast effect port on the tip because, you know, if he needs to, you know, be shooting something while he's flying through space, that's always helpful. And then you have the option of having this extended or having it retracted. That's up to you, whatever you want to do there. I think the proper method for rocket mode is having that extended. So really, really cool. Love all the playability that you have in alt mode for this guy. You can, of course, adjust these if you want to get a better rocket angle. So if you're having it sitting there as such, you can, you know, take a bigger blast effect. And I mean, you're still going to be limited as to what you can do, but you get the idea. So I think that's really cool. Very much enjoy all the playability that is brought with the alt mode for Guardian Robot, aka Blue Mega Supreme. So now that we've taken a look at all the details for his alt mode, again, no transformation in this review. It's just super simple to do. Just follow the instructions in there. There's nothing to it. Not to mention, it's just going to be an absolute hot mess if I try to transform him on camera with the size that this guy is. So we're going to get him into his bot mode. Next thing you're going to see is bot mode, and then we're just going to jump immediately into those bot mode comparisons so you can see him against some other figures. So to start us off, for our Titanic-sized robot mode comparisons, this is my original G1 Metroplex, and you can see just how far we've come size-wise when it comes to these large Transformers figures. And yes, he does have a really bad case of slammer hand going on. Moving on to our next comparison, this is a fellow Transformers Legacy big figure. This is the Transformers Legacy Menasor, which technically is 5 bots, but we're going to count him as 1 here just to give you a sense of scale. Moving on to our next comparison, now we're finally starting to get into those Titan class figures. So this is the Ark from Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom. So this is that Titan class release. And as far as Titans go, he is one of the smaller ones, overall height-wise. So you can see that Blue Mega Supreme or Guardian Robot has a little bit of height on him. But yeah, you can see how those two guys stack up, and I think they look pretty darn good together. Now this would be a fight that I would pay to see. This would be fun to watch. So this is the Titan class Tripticon next to Guardian Robot. Oh yeah, so next up is still one of my favorite Titan class figures. This is the Titan class Earthrise Scorponok, and you can see he's got some height on Guardian Robot here. This would be yet another fun fight to watch for sure. For our next comparison, this is a figure that we've already seen earlier in the review, but worth bringing back in for sure. This is the Transformers Legacy Titan class Metroplex, so you can see how those two guys look together. And for our final bot mode comparison, I hope you agree with me here, but I feel like I saved the best for last. So this is the big guy, the biggest of them all. This is Fortress Maximus. So you can see how those two guys look together. And from where I'm standing, it's a pretty incredible sight. All right, that's going to do it for the bot mode comparisons. Let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. So there you have the Transformers Legacy Generation Select Titan class Autobot Guardian Robot with his little buddy Lunar Tread. That is a big mouthful. Everything about this guy is big. His name is big. The price is big. He's big. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to start with the overall looks with that aesthetic that he brings to the table. I'm going to say just right off the bat, just a big kudos to those designers out there who pack so much detail into these figures. I mean, everywhere you look on this guy, there is sculpt work and just little things to admire and enjoy. Every surface of this guy has some detail on there that you can just really get a kick out of. So just a big shout out there. He looks great, and that sculpt work is just really fun. All those little details that you can find. I like the coloring on this guy as well. Just these blues and the whites and the grays, they all go together. It's definitely a nice way to distinguish him from the Omega Supreme, which is obviously that mold that he's based on. So really good color scheme here. I like what they've done with that. I do think that they could have used more paint applications. He has quite a few, but I think that there are points on the figure where he becomes kind of monolithic, and it would have been nice to have had a few splashes of paint here and there in different areas just to kind of break up some of that monotony. But overall, this guy looks good in both of his modes. I still don't know which one is my favorite yet. I know I'm going to display him in his bot mode simply because it's more compact. It's more vertical than the base mode. But I very much do enjoy both modes, and there's things to love on both of them. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 on the overall looks. Moving on to the articulation, it's really well done. You know, this is a Titan class figure. They do have a history for the Titan class figures of having pretty good articulation on this guy, and he's no different. He does have a couple of areas of improvement. The head and the feet both could have used some improvement. Everything in between, I think, is done really well. But that head, you're going to get just a little bit of up, just a little bit of down. You're not going to get any tilt out of the head at all, like that quizzical side-to-side tilt. You can go a full 360 around, but that's about it. But I would have loved to, like in a pose like this where you're shooting upwards, I would have loved to have been able to get that head to look up a little bit more, to look where he was shooting. And as far as the feet go, he's got ankle tilt, which is really helpful. Would have been nice to have something in those toes or the heels to give you a little bit more posability there. But regardless of those items, you're not going to have any problems whatsoever in getting this guy in some nice dynamic poses. One additional thing that goes along with this, as far as I'm concerned, is the stability. He's got nice big wide feet, and his center of gravity is done well enough that you can get this guy in some really cool poses. For a figure this size, The only reason I have him kind of static right now is because my turntable is small, so I have to keep his legs a little closer together than I normally would for a nice dynamic pose. But yeah, you're going to have fun with this guy. Articulation is very well done. I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. Moving on to the accessories. This is maybe his weakest point. You know, he comes with Lunar Tread, that little dude up on his shoulder who turns into that rover. And he's nice. He's well done. He looks good. I like his coloring. And he comes with 7 new blast effect parts, which is great. As far as I'm concerned, you can never have enough of those. So always nice to have those. But I feel like something's missing. I don't know what it is, but I feel like something is missing. For a figure this size and at this price point, I just feel a little, I don't know, a little disappointed. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 for the accessories. I just feel like something's missing. It's the best way I can say it. Moving on to overall quality. I think overall, the quality here is done really well. I have a few really minor issues. So as I showed earlier in the review, the paint on the tank, which is his chest piece, when it's in tank mode in particular, you can see that I have some imperfections in the tank. I don't know if it was just debris that got in while they were doing the paint applications. I don't know if it's chips, but there's something there that's not supposed to be there. So kind of detracts a little bit, but overall it's not bad. And then, I don't know if I call it quality or if I call it design, but I'm going to lump it in this category. I don't like the way when he's in his alt mode for the tank, I don't like the way the head mates up to the back of the cannon. There's nothing there that holds it tight. It just aligns, but it doesn't snap together or hold it tight. So as you're handling him, it's really easy to knock that out of whack, and it gets kind of annoying after a while. But other than that, everything else is good. No sculpt work issues or molding issues. Paint apps look pretty good other than a few minor things here and there. He came with everything that he was supposed to, transforms the way he was supposed to, so all very well done. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 for quality. So bringing us to our last bullet, which is overall value. This one is a little bit more of a challenge. I will say right off the bat that I picked this figure up from BigBadToyStore.com for $200 US. As far as I'm concerned, that's a little salty for this figure, for Titan class figures in general. Yes, the price is creeping up. Yes, there's inflation. Yes, whatever else is going on. But I still think $200 is a bit of a stretch for a Titan class figure. I will say on a positive note, from a value add standpoint, this guy is really fun to play with. His alt mode with the base, you can do so many things with that. There's so much fun play to be had with this guy. That I totally understand why they reused the Omega Supreme mold. And frankly, that's why I picked this figure up. I missed out on the Omega Supreme purchase when he was released. I wasn't going to let that happen this time around. My guess is that's probably why they priced this at the $200 range, was because they knew there were going to be people like me who missed Omega Supreme and who are not going to pay $300, $400, $500 for him on the aftermarket. So they released this at $200. What a deal. I say that sarcastically. But I think that this is realistically probably a $150 to $170 Titan class figure, not $200. I get their logic for releasing it at that price. I hope that it's going to be like the Legacy Metroplex and the Arc, where you're going to see sales on these guys. So if you didn't get him now, hopefully there's going to be a surplus. Hopefully you're going to see a sale online where you can get him for half off or 30, 40% off, something like that at some of these bigger online retailers. That would be phenomenal because he is worth picking up at $150, no doubt about it. For me, yeah, he's worth picking up at $200, but it hurt a little bit. All right, so with that, I'm going to say the overall value at the price that I paid is a 7 out of 10. All right, so that brings us to our grand total out of a possible 50 points. The Blue Mega Supreme, or Guardian Robot, he gets 41 out of 50, which puts him at 82%. I'm going to give this figure a soft recommendation. And the reason I say soft recommendation is just because of that price. If you can find him at $150, this is a no-brainer. Pick him up. But at $200, take your time, think about it, I would say. But he's definitely fun. Once you have him in hand, he's really fun. Goes great with the other Titan class figures. Goes great with the smaller figures. You just really can't go wrong with this mold. So with that, that's going to wrap up the review. I hope you guys got some good information out of this. I hope you were entertained at watching me try to handle a figure this size on camera, because that was really challenging for me. And if you haven't already done so, please feel free. Please like the video. feel free to leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already done so. And one last favor to ask, if you know of anyone that would like what we do on this channel, please share this video with them, share the channel with them. It goes a long way in helping us out, so we would appreciate all the help there, and we love seeing the channel grow. So with that, it's going to wrap it up. Until we see you guys in the next one, take care.